will admit I am now more confused than when we began just a short time ago. Mr. Chair, you had indicated you had invited the FBI to testify, but I have no idea how they would have contributed to the conversation about what happened moments after the bombs were discovered. So I'm not sure I understand that. And if I understand now, the line of questioning and the videos is to suggest failures by the United States Capitol Police regarding the establishment of the perimeters, securing evidence, and some questions now about the handling of the K-9 suite. So I'm also curious, I'll ask this rhetorically, I'm not sure what the poster behind you, Mr. Chair, is. What does Donald Trump, fraud, Hutchinson, conspiracy, stolen, Meadows? I have no idea what any of this has to do with the hearing in question, which is about the pipe bond. Yeah,
this was just as part of the opening statement as illustrative that the Select Committee, who was tasked with investigating this 2 years ago, only mentioned the pipe bomb 5 times. They mentioned that the size and the font of these words are how many times those particular words were used in that investigation, is to show the point that no one has taken a real look at this until this committee, which has pure oversight over this. As regarding the FBI was invited because they conducted the post-incident investigation of the device itself.
Okay.
Reel back.
All right. The fact that the poster's there, I think, signifies other things, but I'll leave you to your answer. I do want to give, I mean, this has been interesting. I'm not sure, and I'm no expert. Mr. D'Esposito and others are on the panel about law enforcement, so I don't want to leave without giving you, Assistant Chief Gallagher, who I've had the privilege of knowing now the last couple of years, some opportunity to describe, first of all, clearly a number of things were going on at the same time. I mean, these pipe bomb incidents were not in isolation. So maybe you could respond both to the questions, I don't know if they're allegations, but certainly suggestions that both sites were mishandled, number one, and talk about what was going on in the context of the things that were happening that day, if you could.
Sure, thank you. So as far as a allegation of failures by the U.S. Capitol Police officers, I want to be upfront and honest. The U.S. Capitol Police haven't shied away from the failures of that day, and those failures result in the leadership of Capitol Police, not with the police officers that were outnumbered. We suffered 80 officers who had injuries. We lost 2 of our heroes, one on the day after January 6th and one on January 9th. So we have well over 2,000 pages of after-action reviews resulting in all the, from the OIG reports, the GAO, General Honore study, that go into detail in every aspect of the department of what needs to be improved. All aspects of the department needed improvement. For context of that day, while we're dealing with the DNC, which I want to preface is off Capitol ground. So the primary jurisdiction for the DNC is Metropolitan Police Department. When our bomb techs showed up at the scene for the DNC, Metropolitan Police Department had an EOD technician there who asked our bomb techs to take the lead on the scene because our bomb techs show up with our equipment. So we had our robot. MPD did not have their robot. It would have taken a lot more time to get the resources there. The perimeter that was set up around the DNC, it looked chaotic because it was chaotic. We were dealing with a pipe bomb a couple blocks away at the RNC. We were dealing with a pickup truck that had 11 Molotov cocktails, machetes, rifles, handguns, ammunition in it. And at the same time, our officers were suffering the injuries on the west front of the Capitol and the east front of the Capitol. We had multiple calls for 1033 go out, which is an officer in trouble. So as you can, for context, I would gladly give up a perimeter not being perfect to be able to get officers responding to help their brothers and sisters who were calling for help at the U.S. Capitol. It was a chaotic day. It was mentioned that we didn't have enough Capitol Police officers. We did not. We did not have any mutual aid that was on site already. So, and even for a 10-100, which is what we call a suspicious package, and I'm certain my colleagues seated to the left of me would agree, all of them have some issues with the initial perimeter, with getting resources there, with getting agencies there. Now, when you're looking at the DNC where you have multiple jurisdictions, Capitol Police are already stretched beyond their limits. We're fighting on the west front, the east front, officers getting injured. We have 1033 calls. we didn't have enough people to get down there immediately to set up this perfect perimeter where not one car, not one pedestrian could enter into that perimeter. The officers did the best that they could. We just did not have enough resources there.
Thank you. And this, of course, not to mention that for 3 hours, the occupant of the White House at the time failed to call out the National Guard, which could have clearly aided in support of the personnel at the Capitol. And I only raise that because the name behind it on the poster. I did want to ask a quick question in my remaining seconds of Mr. Keim. The question from the gentleman earlier was about the failure of the K-9 unit to discover the bomb. Are the dogs infallible? Do they ever miss something? I mean, is it likely that they would have missed, or is there something, would you necessarily conclude that the bomb wasn't there during the sweep, as the gentleman did, and that it was placed somehow afterward?
No, dogs are dogs. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're having a bad day. There's several reasons a dog could miss an explosive.
So is it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but is it possible then, in your judgment, that the dog simply missed it, that it could have been there during the time of the sweep and the dog just didn't pick it up? Is that possible?
Yeah, anything's possible. We don't have a video of the actual sweep around the explosive device. I would say, as a team, you know, you follow a pattern when you're doing a sweep. Once you've completed your sweep, you know, it's done, it's no longer secure. From what I've seen from the stills of the pipe bomb, if I'm doing a sweep with my canine and I come across a park bench with that sitting underneath it, I'm not putting my dog on it, right? I might not even try to get him into the cone, which is, you know, the odor, depending on which way the wind's blowing. Because once I see that, that becomes a very suspicious package. And if you really want to upset an EOD unit, go ahead and tell them you cleared that using your canine, right? That's just not again. You're literally stepping away from that as far as you can, securing the perimeter, making that perimeter incredibly large, and let EOD decide how much they're going to shrink it from that point on.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm sure there's a reason for it, why there's a still on the right-hand side of the sweep, but the dog, I mean, it's like a split screen. I don't know what happened to the video on the other side, but I guess.
Yeah, there's many reasons the dog might have had to go to the bathroom. It could be a ton of different reasons, or the dog's been already been searching for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, and now he's getting exhausted. Even if the weather's not hot, they only have a certain amount of time that they can actually be successful.
Gotcha. So necessarily reaching the conclusion that the dog, it wasn't that the device wasn't there and the dog would have caught it, that's not necessarily a
No,
conclusion you would really.
it could also depend on the actual maker of the device and how well he concealed whatever the explosive was inside the pipe.
Very good. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.